Hare Krishna Tukaram Prabhu. My pranams.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Can you hear me okay? I'm using a new mic and a new system today. Is this okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, great.
Prabhu, is the internet also new?
No, I wish. I think this is the only uh, internet cable and internet you can get in this particular place. Sometimes the phone works better, one of the phones, but usually when this internet's not working, then the phones also don't work. It's crazy. Okay, so just taking your permission, your Anumanta Upadrishta Dorkar. Shall we go ahead and start?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, looks like my internet's not doing so good, actually. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Hare Krishna. It's nice to see everybody. If you can show your faces, that gives me a little happiness. We'll go ahead and say a few prayers. Gora Graganya Gana Gotra Goloru Haram Goranga Guru Tamago Perakolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridoya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Je Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bhidana Padama Pumata Tismai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kuyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we've been speaking something about different types of disciples, as they say, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we finished speaking about the ugly. Those are the Bahirmukh Sishas and three basic different types. And then we spoke something about the bad. So the three types of Antarmukh Sishas or internal disciples. The Kanishta is not quite up to the mark. Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls him Vaishnava Bas, or a semblance of a devotee, a Prakrita Vaishnava, a materialistic devotee. So Prabhupada, in this letter to Satsvarup Maharaj we've been meditating on, he says the best thing is to remain in the vaya media of the middle class position, namely to love God, make friendship with devotees, and to enlighten the innocent and to avoid the demons. So this was something Srila Prabhupada said in 1968. This is a foundational principle of our society. We don't want to remain neophyte devotees. And what is the nature of a neophyte devotee? Archayame vahadaye pujam ya shradayate. He has faith in worshiping the deity. He has faith in his guru. He has faith in the institution of ISKCON. But natad bhakteshu chanyeshu. He doesn't appreciate devotees or other people. And Jiva Goswami says because of that, then he can't preach. And so as we were speaking in our last session, we have to come to the platform of Madhyam. And that means different dealings. Ishvara, Tadadinishu, the Ishvara, the Lord, Tadadinishu, the devotees, Baliseshu, innocent, and Dvisatsu, envious persons. We deal with them in 4 different ways. We offer love to the devotees. We have friendship with love to the Lord, friendship with the devotees. Hare Krishna. We give mercy to the innocent, and we neglect those persons who are envious. And we spoke something about that from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the qualification of the Uttam is that he's Shastra Yukti, Yukto Chanipuna. He's expert in Shastra, and he knows how to answer questions from people. He knows how to give arguments based on logic and like that. This is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita and also Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But the Madhyam, Rupa Goswami says, Yashashradish anipuna shradavan to Madhyama. He doesn't know. He's a nipuna. He's not very expert in Shastra. But at the same time, he's Shradavan. He has faith. He's Dhrida Shraddha. He has firm faith. So we should understand the necessity of respecting and associating with such devotees. Krishna in the Mahabharata, when he went to Hastinapur on a message, on a mission to give a message from the Pandavas to Duryodhana and the Kauravas, he told Duryodhana, Yastan dvesti samam dvesti yastananu samamanu. Someone who hates my devotees, Yastan dvesti samam dvesti, it means they hate me. Yastananu samamanu. Someone who follows the devotees or loves the devotees, they love me. So the Kanishta is a Prakrita Bhakta. He's not really a devotee because he doesn't understand this principle that to worship the Lord, we have to worship the devotees. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in one lecture in 1926 at Uttadanga Mutt in Kolkata, where Srila Prabhupada first met him, he said there that Gaura Sundar and his associates are the objects of our worship. Gaura Sundar cannot be worshipped without his associates. There is no way for the living beings to attain auspiciousness except to worship the Vaishnavas. Neither can the living beings find benefit by imitating the Vaishnavas. Rather, they must follow them. So the Kanishta Bhakta appreciates the Lord, but he doesn't appreciate the devotees, and therefore he's a Prakrita Bhakta. He's not really a devotee. He can't have devotion because Krishna says, Yastan dvesti samam dvesti yastan samamanu, that if you hate my devotee, it means you hate me. If you love my devotee, it means you love me. It's the only way to approach Krishna. And the Kanishta sometimes then he has a little bit of faith, but he thinks he's sentimental, and he thinks he'll try to imitate the advanced Vaishnavas. He'll try to imitate Guru Maharaj in the way that he was eating or sleeping and seeing those external things. He'll try to imitate memorizing a lot of verses without really trying to understand them. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, we're not going to get benefit by that imitation. Rather, we must follow them. And follow them means we should establish a Madhyam culture. Be peaceful. Everything will come in its due course. But if we try to imitate the Uttam, thinking that by that imitation I'm going to become an exalted Vaishnava because I get some respect, that's a symptom of the Kanishta. The Kanishta, he's seeing that he's equating elevation or advancement with the social respect that someone gets. He's equating it with the opulence that someone has. Oh, this person has lots of disciples. They have nice computer. They have nice sound system. There must be a very elevated devotee. Prabhupada in a lecture, another early lecture in Los Angeles, in April 30th, 1970, he told the devotees in a very simple way, such an important thing. He said, in the second platform, it means in Madhyama Adhikari, not only do we love God, but we make friendship with devotees who are loving God. That is society. Our society is devotees. We should not only practice to love God, but we should make friendship and love the devotees also. But the nature of the Kanishta Adhikari, Bhakta, is that they don't appreciate the devotees. Or the Kanishta Sishya doesn't appreciate the devotees. They see the devotees are not so important. They see Gurudev as very important, but the devotees, oh, I don't really care so much about that. That's not a very important thing. And therefore they miss out on mercy. So I'd like to share with you today a few principles about this from a few different literatures about the importance, if someone wants to be a proper disciple, the absolute importance, how they should offer respect to the devotees. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, in the second Vilas, text 137, it said, Vaishnavanam para bhaktir acharyanam visheshata pujanam yachayata shaktitan apanams tapalayet. That if you want to be a disciple, speaking about the duties of a disciple, that a disciple should be devoted, Vaishnavanam para bhakti, should have bhakti to all the Vaishnavas. It's a really important point. I remember in Los Angeles when I joined there, we had a zonal acharya. It was a zonal acharya days. It was 1982. And that particular acharya, we had criticized some of his god. He was being criticized by some of his godbrothers. They didn't appreciate him. And later we came to find out that what some of the godbrothers were saying about him was true. But I remember at that time, amongst the neophyte devotees, the followers of that zonal acharya, they thought that, oh, these persons are big offenders because they don't appreciate our Gurudev. So the nature of a Kanishta is Archayame Vahareye Pujam Yashadayete. They worship the Lord. Krishna says in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam that Acharya Mam Vijanayan Tavam Navam Yetakarichit, that you should know the Acharya, the Guru, is not different than me. So such a devotee has faith in Guru. He has faith in Krishna, but he doesn't have so much faith in other persons. But here in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatan Goswami are saying, Vaishnavanam para bhaktir. You should give respect to all the Vaishnavas, but acharyanam visheshata, in particular to acharyas. And what does acharya mean? Someone who's behaving according to their achar, their teaching. Acharya means someone who's teaching, who has disciples, is such a great personality. So we should give even more respect to that person. That means social respect we should give. And we should also give respect in our heart. Pujanam yata shakti. We should worship them according to our shakti, according to our ability. Tanapanam chapali. We should protect them if they're ever in danger. We should give everything to those Vaishnavas. And that's the symptom of a Vaishnav. Again, it's described in the Sanat Kumar Sanghita. Satam dharmas tata sikshat. Prapananam visheshata svesta devadiya nityam vaishnavam paritushayat. That a disciple is someone who studies the devotional activities of the devotees. That's the behavior of a disciple. Sikshat prapanam visheshata. Specifically, he learns from surrendered devotees. So this is the behavior we should cultivate in IYF, in the temple, We should give respect to senior devotees, especially those who are very, very surrendered, to devotees who gave up making money and gave up having a family or wife and things and become brahmachari, and they're dedicating everything to Guru and Krishna. We should respect them. Or they may be a grihasta, we should still respect them. They may be a mataji, we should still respect them. But we look for those devotees, papananam visheshita, who are specifically surrendered, and we should study them. We should see how they do things, and try to please those devotees. Nityam Vaishnavam Pretoshayat. Try to please those devotees. This is one of the qualifications given in Sanat Kumar Sip Sanghita of a bona fide disciple, or the behavior of a disciple. That we should study the devotional activities of surrendered devotees, and we should try to please them. It's a very important principle. I'd like to go on now to a book, very nice book I like very much, called Prema Vilas. It's by Nityananda Das. Nityananda Das was a disciple of Janava Mata. The Janava Mata was one of the two wives of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and she became the Acharya in our Gaudiya line after the disappearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. So she had one disciple, one young man who came to her to surrender. His name was Balaram Das, and she gave him initiation. She gave him the name Nityananda Das. That's pretty good, to be named Nityananda Das by the wife of Lord Nityananda. So in Prema Vilas, in the 11th chapter, he speaks about a conversation that took place between Lokanath Goswami and Narottam Das Thakur. And he says that Mahaprabhu Agya Achi Harinama Prati, that Mahaprabhu is instructed how this holy name should be given. And the jiva, he says, has been traveling through so many different bodies, and finally he comes to a human body. And to help that personality, then Krishna Bhakta Rupe, he takes a form of a devotee, and Krishna Nama Dili Hoyana Guru Surupe. In the form of Guru, Krishna gives the holy name. But it's not just that we get Harinam initiation and that's the end of things. Lokanath Goswami tells Narottam Das Thakur, Harinama Sadiba Guru Sange Taki Sada Vaishnavera Sange Loba Koribo Sarvata Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He says, Harinama Sadiba. If you want that holy name, then Guru Shange Taki Sada. You should always stay close to Gurudev. And Vaishnavera Sange Loba Koribe Sarvata. You should be greedy to always have the association of the Vaishnavas. This is why Srila Prabhupada created this society. Bahirmukh Janas, external people, they think, this ISKCON society is created to collect followers and to get money. That's not the purpose of this society. Only external people see like that. The purpose of our society is to create Vaishnav Sangha through Krishna Katha and through the holy name. So Nityananda Das goes on to say, Hare Krishna Mahamanta Sari Diba Nishi Kona Juge Prabhu Kripa Hoya Hena Basi. That person who wants to get what Gurudev has to give, then he should chant that Hare Krishna mantra. He should relish it. Sada Diba Nishi, day and night, and waiting, when will that day come when my Gurudev is going to give mercy to me? He says, Adhika utkanta hoy Guru Karena Karuna. Gurudev shows mercy when he sees that disciple has this Adhika utkanta. He's utkanta. He's very, very desperate. He's crying out, I have to have this thing. I have to have this thing. I have to have this thing. But iha se bujite pari kono jana. Very few people understand this principle because most people are Bahirmukh Janas. Most of them are external, and that's okay. Srila Prabhupada also had something for the external persons. He formed the society so people can become members. Because if you just come and you just chant, you hear a little Bhagavatam, you're going to get something very special. But we see that although there's many people who come and they chant, and even many who get initiated, how many people really get the mercy of Gurudev? Ihase bujite pari kono kono jana. Very few people understand this. That the disciple who's utkanta, who's crying out, is very anxious for that. He'll get that. Shishamana buji guru vishvasara kata yogita nahi de kripa nahi be sarvata. So the Gurudev is always looking to see, and he's looking to the heart of that disciple. Shishamana buji. Gurudev knows that. Guru Vishvasara Kata, and he gives his kata, he gives his instructions according to the position of that disciple. And if that disciple is Yogyata Nahile, he's not qualified, then Kripa Nahibe Sarvata. That mercy won't manifest, even though he's giving the same thing to a good disciple and to a bad disciple. And Lokanath Goswami telling Narottam Das Thakur, he says, Ehoi Prachin Vakya, Shunu Narottam. So, my dear Narottam, Lokanath Goswami says, you should understand Ehoi Prachin Vakya, this ancient wisdom. Na janme Krishna da kripa aita karan. This is why Krishna's mercy doesn't rise for many people. So the Madhyama, he's not the Uttam, but he doesn't try to imitate the Uttam. He serves the Uttam in a very faithful way. And that Madhyama, although he doesn't know so much Shastra, still he has faith. He has faith in Vaishnav Bhajan and Nam Bhajan. He has faith in Vaishnav dress. There's a nice story in Rajasthan about this. There was one king, one Vaishnav king, was a great devotee, and he wouldn't give any charity to singers and dancers and people like that. His conviction was Ishavashamedam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagat. Everything belongs to the Lord. So he thought, I'm not going to give anything to anybody who's envious of the Lord. I'm going to neglect them. Someone who's dvisatsu, who's envious, I'm going to practice upeksha. So once there was a group of actors, they decided to rob the king. But they understood that this king has this habit that he gives respect only to the Vaishnavas. And so they put on tilak and kunti mala, and they approached the king. And the king saw, oh, some sadhus, Vaishnavas have come, and he was very respectful. And then they allowed the king to worship them. And then they started to sing and dance in front of the deity and clapping their hands. And that king, who had great faith in the dress of the Vaishnavas and the behavior of the Vaishnavas, he said, oh, you're so glorious. And so then he fed them very nice prasadam, just like Tukaram Prabhu gives me very nice prasadam when I go to Bhubaneswar, even though I'm just a bogus person dressed up like a devotee. The king very lovingly fed those gundas, actually, nice prasadam. And then he brought a plate of gold coins. And he offered that to him. And he said, I know you're Vaishnavas and you don't want anything for yourself, but please accept this as prasadam from the Lord. And when those gundas, they saw the mood of the king and his firm faith in the Vaishnav dress and his devotion to the Lord, something happened to them. Their hearts were touched and they became devotees. Prabhupada once, he told some devotees in Australia, he said, don't think you're Vaishnavas. Rather, you're just like actors on the stage, acting like Vaishnavas. But there's some benefit in that acting because you get in the role, you get in the mood of the devotees, and then you learn something about it. So these gundas, when they saw the mood of the king, it changed their heart. And they offered obeisances to that gold and to the king. And they said, please forgive us. There's a bad smell coming from this gold, so we don't want to accept it. We know now that real wealth is bhakti for Krishna. And so then they got up and started to go. And then the king caught a hold of them and said, why are you leaving? And they said, no, no, now we've gotten some intelligence by your association. So please allow us to go. We're going to go somewhere to worship the Lord. Uh-huh. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta once, he was asked a question, how important is Vaishnav Seva to someone who wants to chant purely? And he responded in a very nice way. I'd like all of you to meditate on this instruction from him. It's very pertinent for all of us. He said, people should not make a show of worshiping the Lord while remaining averse or against serving the devotees who are living in the temple. Don't just make a show of worshiping the Lord, but not being happy to serve the devotees. Simply by serving the residents of the temple, he said, we become qualified to chant the holy name. Our taste for chanting will increase in that way. But if instead we just absorb in serving our materialistic relatives, then we'll never learn to chant Krishna's holy name. So it's such an important thing that we have to learn to respect the devotees. Ramanujacharya had one disciple who was also his son-in-law, and his name was Lalacharya. And once Ramanuja, speaking about the glories of the devotees and how important it is to love the devotees, once Ramanuja told Lalacharya, I have this instruction for you. You should love the devotees millions of times more than you love the Lord. And Lalacharya said, Gurudev, I'm sorry, it's not possible. I can't do that. So then his Guru Maharaj told him, okay, then you should treat all the devotees as if they're as good as your Guru. And Lalacharya again shook his head and said, Guru Maharaj, I'm really sorry. I also can't do that. Then Ramanuja said, well, anyway, you're being very honest. He said, then at least you should love the devotees as your brother and not less than that. And Lalacharya said, yes, Gurudev, I can do that. And from that day on, he began serving all the devotees with the same love and affection as if they were his own brother. And one day, his wife was down fetching some water from the river, the Kaveri River, and she saw a dead body come down the river. And this dead body had kunti mala, tulsi neck beads, and some tilak on. And so she went and told her husband about that some Vaishnav died, and I saw his body there in the water. And Lalacharya, when he heard that, he said, oh, my brother has died, because he's accepting this instruction from his Gurudev. Because Gurudev always wants the disciple to give respect to the Vaishnavas. It's not like the Kanishta Adhikari who can give respect to Gurudev, but not respect to anyone else. That's not pleasing to Guru. So Lalacharya, following the order of his Gurudev, he got together some friends, and they started playing musical instruments, and they brought a palanquin, and they carried the dead body of that Vaishnava who we didn't know what caste that personality came from, didn't know, maybe it was even a demon, but just somebody put tilak on and kunti mala, had no idea about that personality, took him to the smasana, the crematorium grounds, and burned the body. And he was feeling then very sad. Oh, my brother left. My Gurudev said all the Vaishnavas are my brothers. My brother died. And so, but then he thought, well, my brother's a devotee of the Lord. He left his body. He must have gone back to Godhead. So he became a little pacified. But then on the 13th day after the disappearance of that Vaishnava, who Lalacharya's wife found a dead body in the Kaveri River, he organized a function. And he invited all the different Brahmins in the village. You please come and have some prasadam. And the Brahmins in this village, they were smartas. And they were speaking amongst themselves. Said, what is this? This Lalacharya is pago. Some dead body came floating down the river. No one knows what family he was born in. No one knows what caste he was, what kind of person he is. We can't go and eat in that ceremony. We'll take some karma. And so they were criticizing Lalacharya in this way. And Lalacharya was waiting and waiting. And then when he heard that those Brahmins aren't going to come, he was very sad. So then he went to see his Guru Maharaj, Ramanuja, and he offered obeisances to him. He folded his hands. He said, Guru Maharaj, this is what happened. He told him the whole story. And Ramanuja told him, you go back. And then Ramanuja acted a little strange. He just looked at the sky and then he looked back down on the ground and he said, you go home. Soon everything will be okay. Uh-huh. Yes, Guru Maharaj. And so Lalacharya went back, and my Gurudev said some people are going to come for lunch. They're going to take this prasadam. So he got everything ready. And a short time after that, a group of very, very effulgent Vaishnavas came to that village. And no one had ever seen them before. And they asked the people there, do you know someone named Lalacharya? Yes, yes. Do you know where he lives? Oh, his house is over there. Thank you. We heard that he's giving some prasadam today on behalf of the Vaishnav, his brother who departed. We want to go there. And so they went to that house. And when the Brahmins, they saw that, the local Brahmins in that village, they became envious. And they said, yeah, let these people eat that food. It's not really prasadam. We won't stop them now. But when they come out of the house after eating, we're going to stand outside and we're going to make fun of them. So Lalacharya in his home, he was staying in there, and suddenly some knock came on the door. And he opened the door and he saw these very effulgent devotees. Oh my gosh. And Lalacharya, Hare Krishna, Lalacharya fell down on the ground and offered his obeisances to them and said, oh, my dear sadhus, you've shown mercy by considering me your servant. Now please come and honor prasadam. And so they all sat down and very happily they began to honor the remnants of the Lord. And everyone was feeling very, very delighted. And then suddenly an amazing thing happened. Lalacharya saw the real situation, that all of those guests, he saw they all manifested four-armed forms. He saw they were all actually residents of Vaikuntha Lok. And Lalacharya began to cry in ecstasy. So meanwhile, when those Vaikuntha Basis finished taking prasad in the home of Lalacharya, they went outside. And as soon as they came out, the Brahmins, they were waiting out there to make fun of them. And they opened their mouths to try to start saying something. But then they saw these personalities started walking, and it looked like they were going up steps. Only thing was, there was no steps. They were just rising up into the sky. And those Brahmins, as we would say in America, they had an attitude adjustment. Their pride was smashed. And they realized, oh my God, this is such an amazing personality, this Lalacharya. The residents of Vaikuntha are coming to take this prasadam, and we're not going. So they ran there, and Lalacharya was picking up the plates. Said, no, leave the plates there. We want some of the remnants. And they started taking it, and then they started rolling on the ground and begging forgiveness from Lalacharya. Please, please forgive us for our offenses. And Lalacharya said, no, by your mercy, I got darshan, the four-handed associates of the Lord. I'm very, very happy. It's very, very good. You've been very kind to me. So we should respect the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada, all of our acharyas have stressed this so much. If you want to take initiation, if you want to become a proper disciple, we have to give respect to the God brothers. Prabhupada wrote one letter to Shivananda Prabhu. In 1969, Shivananda Prabhu came here to Jagannath Puri some years ago, and we had the good fortune of taking him around to some places here. Prabhupada wrote in this letter to him, also a very early letter, 1969. He said, regarding serving your God brothers, this is a very good practice. The spiritual master is never without his followers. So to serve the spiritual master also means to be the servant of his disciples. When you want to serve the king, you must also serve his minister, secretary, and everyone who serves him. And to serve his servants means to please him more than to serve the king personally. So the spiritual master is not alone, Prabhupada said. He is always with his entourage. We are not impersonalists. We take care of every part of the whole. As much as one should take care of his hat as well as his shoes. Both are equally important for the upkeep of the body. I hope you will understand this rightly. This is such an important principle. It's a simple principle. It's not so complicated to be a Madhyamadikari. It just means to be honest. It doesn't mean that we can see who's who and what's what, but it means that we give respect to anyone, as we were discussing in our last session. Krishna iti yashagiri tam manasadiye. To anyone who chants the holy name, we give respect in our mind. But dikshesti chat panati bishcha bhajantamisham. We offer obeisances to anyone who has diksha and is serving the deity. But Shushushaya Bhajana Vigna Mananya Manya Nindari Shunahidam Ipsita Sangalabhya. Ipsita Sangalabhya. We want that association and service of that person who's Bhajan Vigyan, who's very expert in Bhajan, and Nindari Shunahidam Ipsita, whose heart is free from the propensity to criticize others. It's such a very, very important principle. But it's such a rare thing. Most people can't understand, they don't appreciate service to the Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, in one lecture in Mauritius, which is printed in Back to Godhead magazine, he said a very beautiful thing. I'd like you to meditate on this. It's very important for IYF. What is IYF? Don't think that IYF means that you're just staying in a hostel. Don't think that IYF means that you're chanting a certain number of rounds or you're taking part in certain classes, and that's IYF. The principle is we have a loving Sangha. The principle of IYF, the principle of ISKCON, as Prabhupada said in that lecture in Los Angeles, we must learn to love the devotees. This is society, he said. Our society is devotees. We must learn to love the devotees. So if you want to make an advancement, if you want to become dear to Guru, we should learn to love the devotees. And Prabhupada said this thing in Mauritius. He said, Vedic society is based on the principle of love between husband and wife, father and son, the king and the citizens, and so on. Civilization must be founded on love, not law. IYF is founded on love, not law. ISKCON is founded on love, not law. Prabhupada says, by law, you cannot make a person love you. First, he must love you. Then he will gladly follow your law. Modern civilization lacks this basis of love, so everything is superficial and false. But if devotion to Krishna is made the basic principle, then people will be happy. So, such a very, very important principle Srila Prabhupada is stressing. And we should understand that if this principle of love is not there, then as Prabhupada says here, then everything will be superficial and false. And we're not going to be satisfied. And therefore we see this is one reason we were speaking in our last session. We quoted this important verse from Sattva Tantra, Hari Bhakti, Hari Lila Satochara, Pareshi Satatantwaya, Karya Pritistava Hariyata Bhakti Nanashiti, that we should learn to love devotees. Yata Bhakti Nanashiti, and if we love them, then our bhakti will be protected. We won't fall down. But if we don't love them, if we're just following the rule of law instead of love, then everything will become superficial and false. And it'll be a Kanishta society. And it's a Prakrita society, a mundane society. It won't really be divine. We won't really be able to please the Lord in the best way. So I want to tell you one final story. This is also from the life of Ramanujacharya. Once Ramanuja had some desire to go on pilgrimage, on Tirtha Yatra. And so he left from Srirangam along with some of his dear disciples, and they were all doing kirtan as they were leaving. And on the way, Ramanuja decided that he would stop in one particular village where he had a couple of disciples staying there. So he sent some message ahead with two of his disciples, and told them that you should go to the home of Yagesh. There's two disciples living in this village. One is named Yagesh and the other is Vardacharya. And Yagesh was very, very wealthy, big businessman. So Ramanuja, not wanting to trouble Vardacharya, who was a very poor man, he thought better I should go to the house of the rich man, not because he's thinking it's going to be better food or something, but because he doesn't want to trouble the poor disciple Vardacharya who didn't have enough wealth. And he thought for Yagesha it won't be a burden. So when those devotees arrived there, and they told Yagesh, Guru Maharaj is coming. Yagesh became ecstatic, and he was so very, very happy. Oh my gosh, we have to start making arrangements right away. Guru Maharaj is coming. He called for his assistant and told him, you go and get some boga, do this and this, and started telling him everything. But meanwhile, he was so absorbed in that, the two devotees, his two godbrothers who came there, they were very tired. They'd been walking on a hot road and didn't even offer them a glass of water. And so they didn't say anything because they're devotees, but they went back to their Guru Maharaj. And Ramanuja asked them, so did you speak to Yagesh? Yes, Guru Maharaj, we did. And then Ramanuja asked him, so is everything arranged? Yes, Guru Maharaj, he was very happy. And then Ramanuja asked him, how did Yagesh receive you? And he said, well, Guru Maharaj, actually, he was so excited that you were coming. I think that he forgot completely about us, and he didn't even offer us a chair to sit in or any water or anything. And Ramanuja became very unhappy about that. And so he decided, we're not going to go there. Instead, we'll go to the house of Vardacharya. And he didn't even make an announcement. He didn't give any news to Vardacharya. Hare Krishna. So Vardacharya, he was a grihastha. He was living with his wife, whose name was Lakshmi. And like the name Lakshmi, Lakshmi Devi, his wife, was very beautiful and a very, very chaste lady. And so that day, Ramanuja and the disciples, a big group of devotees, I don't know, 20 or 30 devotees, suddenly arrived at the house of Vardacharya. And Vardacharya wasn't there. He was out begging alms, doing Madhukari. And but Lakshmi Devi became ecstatic. Oh, Guru Maharaj is here. We didn't know you were coming. And she was so excited. Please sit down and let me bring you some water. And she offered obeisances to everyone. She said, my husband's just out begging some alms and he's going to come back soon. Let me wash your feet and you can take bath in the nearby lake here. And in the meantime, I'll cook something and offer it to the Lord. And so they were all very happy by the very sweet welcome they'd received. And then Lakshmi Devi went into the kitchen. And in their kitchen, there was no insects. There was no mushika. There was no mice. All of them had died of starvation long before that, because there wasn't one single grain of rice there. She had nothing to serve them, and she didn't know what to do. So Krishna in the Gita says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. When someone wants to serve Guru, then Krishna gives them good intelligence. So in that same village nearby, there was a wealthy businessman who was a very lusty fellow, and he was very much attracted by Vardacharya's wife Lakshmi. And he made many very nasty proposals. He sent female messengers to Lakshmi Devi offering her money and jewels and things if she would come and enjoy with him. But Lakshmi was very, very chaste, and she wouldn't even speak to that rascal, wouldn't even think about accepting that. But now she thought, oh, Gurudev is here, and we have to serve. My husband wants me to serve Gurudev and the Vaishnavas, there's no doubt. So what can I do? So she decided, I'm going to go and surrender myself to that man in exchange for whatever is required to serve my guests. So she went there to that businessman's house, and he was very happy. Well, you came here to my house, huh? And she said, don't worry, this evening I'll come and I'll fulfill all your desires. But right now, my Gurudev and many of our God brothers, they've come to our house as guests. So please send all the different foodstuffs and things to our house very quickly so I can receive them properly. And so that merchant was very surprised to hear that, because he was thinking, this lady's never going to be attracted. She's never going to agree to enjoy with me. So very happily, he sent so much opulence with a big cart full of very nice paneer and milk and ghee and different fancy types of rice and different vegetables and things. And Lakshmi Devi, the devotees are still taking bath in the lake. She started cooking everything. And then she offered everything to the deity, and then to Ramanuja and the devotees, and they all sat down to take prasadam. And when they sat down to take that prasadam, they were a little surprised, because they were thinking that this these devotees here, they don't have any money, they don't have anything, but how did they come up with this very opulent, wonderful boga? This is so nice, this wonderful prasadam. And they were very, very pleased. Just around that time, Vardacharya, the husband, returned home, and he saw Guru Maharaj, oh my gosh, and all the devotees. And Vardacharya became very, very ecstatic, and he offered obeisances to Ramanuja and all the devotees there. And then he saw that everybody's eating this very opulent prasadam. Now he knew we don't have anything here in our house. How did this happen? So he went to Lakshmi Devi and said, hey, come here. How did you get all this? And Lakshmi Devi, she bent her head down and covered her. She became very shy. And she told him, my dear Pati, I did something very bad. To get this foodstuffs, I went to that nasty merchant who's always been making indecent proposals to me. And she thought her husband was going to be very angry. But Vardacharya became ecstatic, and he started jumping up and down. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. He said, I am so blessed. You are a truly chaste wife. You know how to serve Gurudev. You understand that Gurudev is a manifestation of Krishna. I'm so fortunate to be married to such a lady who's the embodiment of real religious principles. Hare Krishna. So Ramanuja was in the next room, and he heard Vardacharya shouting, and he came in, he saw Vardacharya jumping up and down and dancing in ecstasy. And Ramanuja said, what is all this? What's going on? And Vardacharya told him, Guru Maharaj, this and this happened. And Lakshmi Devi, to get this foodstuff, she had to agree to this indecent proposal. And Ramanuja was very concerned. And Ramanuja told them, anyway, he had his plate in his hand. He took some prasadam from his personal plate, and he gave that to Vardacharya and his wife. And he said, you take this to that businessman. When you go there, both of you go, and you take this prasadam to him. And so they went there, and Vardacharya waited outside while his wife went inside, and she gave that prasadam very quickly to that merchant. Now, that merchant was not a very nice person, but the merchant, at least, he could appreciate the value of prasadam. And so he offered obeisances to it, and with great happiness, he took that prasadam, and he ate that. And as soon as he took that prasadam, the remnants, it was Maha Prasad, not just ordinary prasad, but Maha Prasad, the remnants from Ramanujacharya. It immediately changed his consciousness, and all of his lusty desires went away. And he looked at Lakshmi Devi, and he saw her like his mother, and he started crying, and he offered obeisances to her. And he said, if I would have touched you, I would have been burned to ashes. You are the most chaste lady. Please forgive me for my offenses. Please give me mercy. Please, please take me. I want to meet your Guru Maharaj. And so she came outside, and Vardacharya was very happy to see the change in this businessman. And the three of them went to see Ramanuja, and Ramanuja gave his blessings to that merchant and told him, now I want you to serve this couple, and you help them because they don't have anything. And then Vardacharya, he became embarrassed, and he said, Guru Maharaj, by your mercy, we have everything that we need. Money causes so many troubles. It takes away our mind. Please don't order me to become a wealthy person and accept charity from him. And Ramanuja was very, very happy that he embraced his disciple Vardacharya. He said, today I become purified by the association of a great disciple like yourself. You understand the importance of serving the Vaishnavas. You understand the importance of serving your god brothers. Meanwhile, Yagesh, Ramanujacharya's wealthy disciple, was wondering what's going on, what happened to Guru Maharaj. And then someone told him, your Guru Maharaj went to the house of Vardacharya. And Yagesh became horrified. Did I do something wrong? Why he didn't come? And so he went running there. And he was thinking, I must have done some big offense. And And Yogesh, he went to Ramanuja and said, did I do something wrong? And Ramanuja told him, he said, you did some offense. You didn't serve your god brothers. You didn't serve the Vaishnavas who came to your home. And because of that, you failed me. You failed in your service to your guru. And therefore, I came to the house of Vardacharya. And Yogesh became very humble and fell on the ground. He said, Guru Maharaj, please forgive me. It wasn't because I was proud of my wealth. It was just that I was so excited that you were coming, and therefore I forgot. And Ramanuja consoled him and said, no, it's okay. I'll come back to your house in a future time. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta printed this story in one of the issues of The Harmonist, and he commented as follows on this story. And he gives a long commentary, a long article. I'm not going to go in that direction, but we'll just read a few sentences from his commentary. He said, the above story is no exaggeration of the absolute submission to the Guru that is insisted upon by Ramanuja as the most essential condition for admission into the spiritual community. This story is not an exaggeration. This is the absolute surrender to Guru that Ramanuja insisted upon as being the most essential condition for admission into IYF or for admission into the spiritual community. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, equal respect is required to be shown to the associates and all the disciples of the Guru. They should all be offered unasked, unconditional. He says that this equal respect should be shown to the associates and all the disciples of the Guru. They should all be offered unasked, unconditional, and unlimited service. This is what it means to be a proper disciple. So I want to stop there and see if anybody has any reflections or comments or anything. I see there's a few comments or anything. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read a few things. And if any devotees have any reflections or comments, I'd appreciate it if you want to share those. Anapayani Radha, who's now at Govardhan Hill, she's commented, it's not so hard to be a madhyam. It just means to be honest and give respect to others. What a wonderful, simple summary about the qualification of a madhyam. Thank you. It's such a simple thing. It's not such a complicated thing. What's complicated is when we try to imitate. When you try to imitate the Uttama Adhikari, things become very, very complicated, very, very difficult. But to be a madhyam just means to be honest and be yourself. Brajabanita is also watching. Hare Krishna, Brajabanita. And she's in Israel. Brajabanita has commented, Vaishnav Sangha requires at least madhyam devotees. But in our movement, most devotees are kanishas, as we experience. So how can we accomplish that? What she's saying is she's not just being harsh, but His Holiness, oh gosh, what's his name? I want to say Jai Pataka Maharaj, no. Jai Advaita Maharaj. He commented once that ISKCON is a neophyte society. It's a neophyte society because we're preaching so much. That's our society. So many people come, and many of them are neophytes. They're new devotees. It's not bad that we're a neophyte society in one sense. In one sense, that's our glory because we're giving so much to so many people. Tukaram Prabhu is such a good preacher. He's going out and encouraging so many people to come. Amritesh Gorpu is such a good preacher. But they're not insisting that you have to be an exalted person. Otherwise, you can't join IYF. I don't know how many people would be able to join otherwise. They're just looking for some sincerity. But we want to create a madhyam society. We don't want our society to be a society of kanishas because that society is a prakrit sangha, a mundane sangha, a mundane society. Mundane meaning it's not going to accomplish the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not going to accomplish the desire of Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, we have to create a madhyam society. And how do we do that? By keeping Krishna Katha in the center, by keeping Krishna Nam in the center, by having some respect, even if it's formal respect. In his Chaitanya Sikshamrita, Thakur Bhaktivinoda gives many instructions, some of which may seem to be rather mundane. He says that we should plant trees. Planting trees is not such a spiritual activity by itself. Before I was a devotee, I was living in Washington State, and I was working in the national forest planting trees for the government. It was a very nice, very sattvic thing. But that's not in and of itself a spiritual thing unless you're planting trees for Krishna. So why is Bhaktivinoda encouraging that? And he also encouraged that along the road to Jagannath Puri, along the road to Vrindavan and to Dwarka and different sacred places, you should build tanks so people can take bath. You should put some place for them to take rest. Those building that thing, planting those trees in and of themselves are not going to do so much for you. But if the yatris go and use those, and if amongst those yatris there's even one Mahabhagavat who gets some shade from the hot sun under that tree, if there's one Mahabhagavat who takes some bath in the pukur that you dug and is pleased because of that, then you get some Maha Sukriti. So, in a similar way, we have this saying in our society, which sometimes may seem a little mechanical. In America, it was practically like a mantra. We'd say, "Prabhuji, please forgive me for my offenses, and please accept my obeisances and forgive me for my offenses." It's like a mantra we would say, and sometimes we might say it in a rather mechanical way. But even if it's done in a mechanical way, if you happen to offer obeisances with sincerity to some exalted Vaishnava, because you don't know who's an exalted Vaishnava and who's not. But if you get lucky and one of the Vaishnavas in IYF happens to be a very exalted person or in the temple, and you're offering obeisances to everybody, then wow, you just hit the jackpot. You're going to get so much blessings from that. So that's our system. It may be a little mechanical, but we have our mechanical society, we have our institution, we have our rules, we have our systems. But those systems should be a Madhyam system, which is based on Shastra, based on Krishna Nam, based on giving respect to the devotees. And we should encourage them and tell them why they should have genuine respect. So if we can do that, then we'll be able to go from being a Kanishta to a Madhyam. And we'll be able to please Srila Prabhupada. And by being a Madhyam, we'll be able to appreciate association with devotees. And then Krishna's devotee may reveal himself to us. And we may get association with the Uttams, which will bring us to that platform. So if anybody else has any reflections or comments, this is a time. Tukaram Prabhu or Amritesh, anybody has anything? Amritesh Prabhu, you had something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the beautiful class. The last class was a little harder for us, but last class also we got many principles which you discussed. We discussed about the upeksha and how to deal with the devotees who are envious about our society, ourselves. So how to deal with them, we got to know so many things. Today also we got to know so many things, that how we should respect our Guru's associates and other disciples of our Gurudev also equally. I got one question in this regard. Although we understood from this example of Lalanacharya that how he followed the instruction of his Guru Maharaj and he was benefited. Sometimes there is a question in mind that when there are so many devotees in front of us, then how can we give equal respect as that of our Gurudev to all of them? Practically, it may not be possible. Then how we'll deal in that situation?
Well, 2 points. The first one is how can we can't give the same respect, but deho nata jata jata. According to someone's position, we give them respect. And even if they're dvisatsu, an envious person, but they're wearing neck beads, like Ramanuja's wife found that dead body. They don't know, maybe that was a very envious person, but he had kuntimala and he had tilak on. So he's given respect to that kuntimala and tilak, just like the king. Those gundas came to see him, but he's giving respect to the tilak and the kuntimala. So we can give respect to that and think that Gurudev is coming this way. But if we see that someone is envious, then we neglect that envy. We still give them prasadam. We still give them some respect, but we don't want to hear from them. We don't share Krishna Katha with them. And if we try to share Krishna Katha with them, it's going to be a problem. It's not going to work out properly. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Dandavad
Anybody
Pranam,
else with
Prabhuji.
any?
Dandavad
My
Pranam.
partner's with-
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Saurav?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. Sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
so basically, like in the previous class, I had a realization that, envy is not just about being jealous towards somebody, or, but it also includes somebody who distracts you from Krishna. That
Ah,
also comes under envy.
yes.
And today I got to know that, like to love Krishna and to respect Krishna, it means we should not discriminate between the Vaishnavas as well. So Krishna, the Guru, and the Vaishnavas, we should never discriminate, and we should have respect for all of them. And the other thing was being honest. So by being honest, we can develop the Madhyam culture. That's all, Prabhuji.
Very good. Yeah, and not we have to discriminate, and we will discriminate too, because we can't just give the same respect to some brand new person who just joined IYF and they don't know, they're maybe kind of a little rough, and maybe they were just drinking a week before and having bad habits and things. It's not going to be possible for you to equally respect them and Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj or some exalted Vaishnav. But when we say that we give the same respect, it means that we worship them. They're in the same category. But the type of worship, how we worship, is going to be a little different. And it's very, very important. The Kanisha doesn't distinguish. He's sentimental and he wants to just try to imitate and like everybody. But he ends up not liking anybody. So the roadmap is a Madhyam culture. And by that, we can see we should give more respect to this person. They know Shastra. They've been serving for a long time. They have an important they've accepted some role. They're a Vaishnav. A Vaishnav never wants to accept a position of authority, but they're accepting some position of authority to serve their guru. So I give respect to that. And we're respecting Krishna through them. That's really nice, Sarpu. Thank you. I'm sorry, last session we had our internet just cut out and I wasn't able to take part in the discussion between everybody. It's nice. Thank you, Saurabh and Amritesh Prabhu. You're sharing some of the comments that took place at that time. Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, Leela Purushottam Prabhu has a comment here. Leela Purushottam is in Czech Republic. He says that I also especially noticed that statement about not being difficult to be Madhyam, as Anapani Radha mentioned. My thoughts immediately came, quote, when, oh, when will that day be mine? Thank you for specifying simplicity as a tool to get there. Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he speaks about two basic categories of bhakti, sakaitaba and akaitaba, or cheating bhakti and non-cheating bhakti. And non-cheating bhakti just means to be honest. And in that case, it's okay to be fallen. Our Guru Maharaj sometimes used to say that your only qualification is your disqualification. We should just be humble and simple and not try to imitate. Let's go to Tukaram Prabhu. I see there's a few other comments here written also, but let me go to Tukaram Prabhu and we'll come back to the written comments. Tukaram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, like I like the point that more important than law is love. Our community should be based on love, not law. And in last session, you discussed that what exactly, actually for the very first time, we understood what exactly envy means. Envy means that we are trying to distract someone's attention from Krishna. So that is actually envy. And how to practice upeksha is not to neglect them physically, like we should give them prasadam, we can talk with them, but we cannot discuss, we should not discuss Krishna Katha with them. So it's the easiest way of upeksha. Actually, I had a question from last class. Maybe it is not connected with the topic. So I can take it after everyone speaks. Last, I'll take it.
Okay, just to reflect on what you just said, when we say that to upeksha means to neglect someone who's envious, and doesn't mean that we don't feed them or give them clothes or don't talk to them, but it means that we don't discuss Krishna Katha with them. The Bhagavatam says, Anvayaveti rekabhyam yasyat sarvata sarvada. This Bhagavatam is presented both directly and indirectly. So there's a direct instruction the Bhaktivinoda gives there in Jaiva Dharma. We should not neglect means we feed, we don't, not that we don't feed them, not that we don't talk with them, but what it means is we don't speak Krishna Katha. And there's an indirect instruction there also. The indirect ramification is that Krishna Katha is something intimate. And that's the purpose of IYF. We want to create a loving Sangha. We want to create friendship with the devotees. And that will happen only in a very intimate Sangha. We were just reading in this biography of Jamuna Devi, where she recalled Prabhupada told her once, association can be between 2 or 200, but you must be compatible. If you are 2 and you are compatible, you can go back to Godhead. But if you're 200 and not compatible, Prabhupada's eyes became very big. He says, then no one will make any advancement. So this is the purpose of our society. We want to create a compatible society, and it's not always going to work. I've seen that it doesn't, Western devotees sometimes don't mix well with the Deshi devotees and vice versa. Sometimes the Gujarati devotees don't feel comfortable with the Odia devotees or this and that. There's different groups. It's natural. That's okay. We should be compatible with each other, but we should create a Sangha based on Krishna Katha, very intimate Krishna Katha. So thank you, Tukram. But let me go back to Brajabanita made some comment. Let's see. Yeah. She says, I don't really understand how to unite honesty with mechanical respect on the Madhyam level. How can I offer respect to someone who's rude with me, even in a mechanical way? Well, we can do that because we have some instruction from Gurudev. We have some instruction from Shastra that we should respect all the Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says we should give all of them respect. And therefore I should do that. But how can I do that? Well, I can do that just like this king who was giving respect because those Gundas, they had tilak on and Kunti Mala, they were acting like devotees. And that's such a glorious thing. I can give respect to that with sincerity. I may not have, these guys are so rude and so obnoxious. I may be angry with them. I may not appreciate them, but I can offer obeisances to their japa mala, to their morning program, to what they're doing. I appreciate that. That's a very important thing. And by offering obeisances like that again and again, it softens our hearts. And it will become more and more natural for us. Lila Purushottam Prabhu comments, I'd like to ask, what's the title of the essay by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that you mentioned today? Let me see if I can find it here. Okay. It's called Unconventional Guidance. I'm going to go ahead and paste that title into the chat here for everybody. But I don't know that this is available, this lecture for everybody. It's from, the article actually is called, the subtitle is Sri Chaitanya in South India. And I'll put in the description of the magazine. You could probably Google that and probably find it online. There's a lot of things online these days. Okay.
But yeah, I got one small question. That when
Okay.
we say Dehonatho Jathadatho, when you said that, now how will we know that which Vaishnava is in which level? That
Yes.
means again we are judging them.
Well, here's an interesting point. If we read Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, I think it's the 5th verse, which says, Krishneti yashagaditam manasadayeted dikshasti chepanati bishya bhajantamisham. Prabhupada in his purport says, this is a description of the Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. Okay, so anybody who chants Krishna's name is a Kanishta, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen demons come and make fun of the Harinam party and chant Krishna's name. Hare Krishna. I've heard stories about the KGB and the FBI sending people to act like devotees who chant Hare Krishna and move into the temple. They're not devotees. So how can we call them a Kanishta? How do we know? Similarly, Diksha. I've seen in Kolkata, sometimes some guy, his business is cleaning the sewers. He's a bungie, right? But he's tired of doing that. So he goes and buys for 20 paisa or something, he buys a paita, right? Some Brahmin thread. And he gets a little bowl with some rice and haldi and some agarbatti. And he goes to all the rickshaws at the road stop and he starts, ying, ying, mom, mom, boom, boom, him, him, ha, ha. Making some sounds and waving the incense and then putting out, for some bakshish, and he gets some money like that. So you might think, he's worshiping the Lord. He has second initiation. There's that paita. How do you know? How do you know? Some Jagannath Puri Panda, maybe he's eating fish and chicken, but he's worshiping the Lord. And then it says Bhajan Vigyan, who's expert in bhajan. Well, that's not so hard. You can practice for a few weeks and learn to play harmonium and mridanga or something. You can memorize some verses. Nindadi Shinarhidam, that your heart's free from the propensity to criticize others. Well, just don't say anything bad about anybody for half an hour. And everybody thinks, oh, Amritesh Prabhu is definitely an Uttam. He hasn't said anything bad about anybody. It's been 30 years. He must be a great person. So if you think about it, how can Prabhupada say that this is a Kanisha, Madhyam, and Uttam? If you analyze it, they may all three be demons. If you analyze it. So then what does it mean? And why does he say that? He's saying it because we give respect to anyone who chants the holy name. We give respect to the holy name. We give respect to anyone who's Gayatri mantra, who's Dikshit, and is worshiping the deity. We give respect to anyone who knows Shastra, is expert in bhajan, and someone who doesn't criticize anyone. We want to associate with them. And then iti sangita labhya, that I want this association, also means that if they stop acting like that, I associate with them for half an hour, and this guy is just so wonderful. He's not criticizing anybody, and he's such good association. But then after a half an hour, he feels relaxed, and he starts, and did you know the temple president's like this? And that Tukaram guy, why are you giving respect to him? He's and they start saying all nasty things like that. Then you know, oh, that's why God created wristwatches. Then you go, oh, Prabhuji, I'm sorry. I have an appointment. I have to go somewhere. Please excuse me. And you run away. And that's what inverted thing means. That's the indirect instruction in that verse given. That if they start criticizing, then go away. I don't want their association. So we don't really know. But we're offering respect to these qualities, to these aspects of bhajan. And that's a very, very important thing. If we don't give respect to those things, we'll fall down. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. So clear.
Let me go back here. Let's see. There's a few other comments. Brajabanita had to go. Okay. And Iskam Bhubaneshwar. I don't know who Iskam Bhubaneshwar is. That's his initiated name, Iskam Bhubaneshwar.
No, he is the host of the program, Sambit Prabhu from base.
Iskam Bhubaneshwar Prabhu says, from the last pastimes of Ramanujacharya, if directly or indirectly and out of any cause or desire, if we serve the Vaishnavas, we get mercy. Yes, such an important principle. Thank you. I'm so happy to see. And Leela Purushottam says he found it online. Very good. You could share if you're still online here with us, Leela Purushottam. He shows he is. You could give a link there if you want, if you found it somewhere. The devotees can take advantage. Okay, anybody else? Oh, Tukaram, you had some other comment or question, something you said?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, from today's session, I have a question that like we see that as our communities are growing, expanding rapidly, so we are not able to share love and care with many of them.
Yes.
So in such cases, so we are getting people in, but we are not able to give them sufficient care. So in that case, what should be our principle? What should be done?
There's an interesting subtle point in that comment. And the subtle point is that we should give up the propensity to try to imitate the acharya. and to try to control other people in the sense that I just like Prabhupada had thousands of disciples, I'll also have thousands of people coming to me. But Prabhupada was able to give love and affection and personal association in one way or another with those thousands of people. But you and I may not be able to do that. And we have to be honest. But sometimes I see devotees, they're good preachers, but something happens. They get so many people, and then at a certain point, they don't want to give it up. They want to hold on to all those people, even though they can't give them proper personal guidance. They want to try to hold on to all those people, and it's cheating because we can't properly nourish them. And therefore, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, when he established the Namhata system, he established it like that, that you create something, and when it gets to a certain point of size, then break it into pieces. Make it smaller pieces, break it up, because it has to be very intimate Sangha. Otherwise, it's not going to be satisfying. Otherwise, it'll just turn into some very big thing, which will end up being based on rules and externals. And as Prabhupada said in that lecture in Mauritius, which, by the way, this lecture in Mauritius, if anybody Googles this, if anybody tries to find this in the folio, you won't find it. I searched and searched, but it was printed in Back to Godhead magazine in 1976 when Prabhupada was present. But if we don't have that love, then everything will be superficial and false, as Prabhupada said. And then it won't serve the purpose. And maybe we'll become famous that, yes, you have so many followers and you have this and this, but what's the value of that? Better to be an honest person with just a few people that we can actually nourish. And that's such a relief when we start to act on that platform. I don't have to be there for everybody. I don't have to be the acharya of the whole world. Some people won't even like me. That's good. That's natural. Okay, anything else? Tukram, is that
And
okay?
Prabhuji, from last, yes, Prabhuji. And from last session, I have a question. It's not just a question, like we want to listen from your experiences. In last session, you told that neophytes have a mentality that they get attracted by the externals. And you quote the example of that if somebody wants to get married, or so they get attracted by someone's beauty externally or someone's behaviors externally, and then you said that but that fades away in due course of time. So now this is not the point that we were discussing, but we want to listen from your experience that how it works, like if someone is in his teenage or in early 20s, they're practicing Krishna consciousness and becoming attracted to someone, but then gradually this attraction fades away. So Prabhuji, now you have seen a big phase of your life. So from your experiences, we would like to learn that how this principle works, how this, it's not the part of our session discussion that we are making, but we want to learn from your experiences that how this externals fades away, and it's not so important. What more important is the intent. So it's not a topic of our discussion that we are discussing, but we want to learn from your experience how this external attractions fades away.
But it's a very important principle when we talk about Madhyam culture, which is our topic. So the Bhagavatam gives everything. In the first canto, it says, Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhaktir hoksuje. That real dharma means to love the Lord. And there's 3 symptoms given of that love. It should be ahoitiki, apratiyata, yigatma, supersedity. It should be unmotivated, uninterrupted, and then it'll naturally satisfy the heart. So these are 3 symptoms of love. Real love. It means real friendship. It means real love within marriage. It should be ahoitiki. If your motivation for loving that girl is some lust on your part, that's not real love. And after you get married and she has a few too many pizzas and ice cream and she becomes like this, very, very big, then your love goes away. And you're attracted to some other woman. You're not loving that woman, you're loving that body. And we give some examples of this. Sometimes my wife always hates it. There's very crude examples. But just like if someone asks a boy, what do you love about that girl? And he'll say, well, I just love her hair. And the way her hair is so soft and is so beautiful. Okay, Instead of you spending so much money on movie tickets and chocolate and all those things to court this girl, to date this girl, just buy a wig. And you can hang it in the window and you can touch it sometimes and you can save lots of money. And it's just like being with a girl. And then they say, no, 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 no. It's the feeling of her skin. Her skin is so soft. Okay, fine. Then take her to the beach in Puri on a hot summer day, and she'll get a sunburn. And then when her skin peels off, then you collect that skin in a plastic bag, and you can rub the bag, and you can have the same feeling for being with your sweetheart, right? That's disgusting. But that's the nature of mundane love. And that's Stula Deha Priti. There's three types of affection: Stula Deha Priti, Sukshma Deha Priti, and Jiva Deha Priti, or affection for the gross physical body, which is 1/16 of an inch thick, and which is just the skin and hair, and it's very gross. The Sukshma Deha is more subtle. And you like this girl because, wow, you really like to play chess and you feel like you're the best chess player. And this girl is a brilliant chess player. And you both like the same kind of classical Indian music. And so you fall in love with her. But then one day she comes to see you and she says, I don't like playing chess anymore. Now I'm more interested in WWA wrestling. And I don't like Indian classical music anymore. I like punk rock now. And so your relationship breaks up because the things that you had in common no longer work. So all of our relationships as devotees, we're the scientists of the relationships. We should be cultivating a Madhyam society, which means relationship science, the science of relationships. And that science means Hari Lila Sutot Chada Parishu Sutatam Tvayakarya Pritistavahariata Bhaktinanashiti, that we should love each other for Krishna Katha. We should love each other for what we see in that. In the woman, someone may have thrown acid on her face, but if she is a beautiful devotee and she's so attached to Krishna, then you can love her. And that love is very healthy. And I once gave a class in Odessa in Ukraine, and I was saying that we should love the devotees, and the husband should love the wife, and the wife should love the husband, all this. And there was a brahmachari friend of ours sitting in front of me in the class. And after the class, his hand went up, and he said, Prabhuji, Prabhupada says, there's no such thing as love in the material world. And I said, yes, we don't want to live in the material world. We want to live in the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world is love. And you should not love a woman, you're a brahmachari, but you should love the brahmacharis. And if you don't have loving relationships with the brahmacharis, then you're going to end up sooner or later looking for love from a woman, because everyone needs some love and some affection. But that love and affection that we have should be based on Krishna. And then he replied, he said, yeah, but if you love your wife, then if your wife dies and you're going to cry. And I said, yes, definitely. But that crying won't be mundane crying if your relationship is based on Krishna. And that's not such an easy thing, but if your relationship is actually based on Krishna, doing kirtan together, service together, mutual respect as devotees, then when that person leaves their body, you'll cry, but you'll be crying because, oh, Krishna, I miss this devotee. I miss their bhajan. I miss their doing this thing. And that crying is helpful in our relationship with Krishna. So yes, I've seen this so many times when we have shallow relationships and we love somebody for money. That somebody comes to the temple and they give a lot of money, and we're told we want to collect money for Prabhupada's project. We want to do so much for IYF and ISKCON Bhubaneswar. So we want to be nice to that person. And we took a course and they showed us how to be nice to donors. So we're very, very nice to that person. But then when that person loses his money, do you still love them? Do you still have affection for them? And if you don't, what happens, and I've seen this many times, that wealthy person feels very, very hurt, because then he sees they didn't really care about me. They just cared about my money. I have to go somewhere else. These are not really sadhus. But a real sadhu will love someone. It doesn't matter how much money they have. They may be a person living on the street who hasn't taken bath in a week or two. But if they're a lover of Krishna, they're a great devotee, we can love them with our whole heart. So when we have relationships in our society too, we give respect to someone because they've collected more money, they've made more IYF members, they've done this service, that service, and all external things. And we don't really care about them as a person. That relationship won't be fully satisfying because it's hoitaki, it's not ahoitaki. If a relationship has some motivation, it's not going to be yatma supersedity. It won't be pleasing to the heart. And it'll be pratyata. It's going to have an end. It won't be apratyata. It won't be able to continue. Our society won't continue. And therefore, we've seen this is a big reason why many devotees leave, because either their relationships were so shallow they looked for, or the relationships that were being offered to them were very shallow. And this is an important principle, especially for the leaders. The leaders means not just that we're organizing schedules of things and systems and routines, but being a leader means that we give love and affection to everyone, just like Srila Prabhupada did. Is that okay, Tukaram Prabhu? I know you do that very wonderfully. Thank you for that. Namaste, Shiva. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think somebody had their hand up, but I think they're gone now. Roshan Prabhu, you had something?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Roji, in one point you shared that we should be greedy to serve and associate with Vaishnavas. So actually, there is a book called The Greed of the Lord, and in that I had read one point recently. So I would like to, can I share that?
Yeah, please.
Like here, Govind and Guru Maharaj says, how can you use greed? Develop greed to have more and more sadhusam, association with sadhus, pure devotees, and hear more and more Krishna Katha, talks about the Lord. Develop this greed. Such greed is spiritual and beyond the modes of material nature. You should not give it up. You should develop it more and more. The more you develop this greed, the more you spiritually relish and make spiritual advancement. One who is not greedy in this way cannot spiritually advance. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. It's so important. This is a principle of IYF. This is a principle of ISKCON. We should be greedy to go to the morning program, to go to Mangal Artik, greedy to go to Darshan Artik, greedy to hear Bhagavatam class, greedy to be in the kirtan. We should be the first person there for the kirtan, because that's doing sadhu sangha in one sense. My Guru Maharaj also said sadhu sangha means associating with a premi bhakta. But in other times, he said that association with a sadhu simply means someone who's more advanced than you. Oh, that's pretty easy. Basically, everybody's more advanced than me. So, but how do I associate with them? I associate with them by taking prasadam, by doing kirtan, by having Krishna Katha, and by being greedy for that. So thank you, Roshan Prabhu. I really appreciate that. Instead, other people, they're very, very greedy for drinking beer, right? So many people today, and they're greedy for reading pornographic magazines. My grandma used to say that's their greed. We should be greedy to associate with the devotees. Thank you, Roshan Prabhu. Anybody else with any reflections or comments or anything?
Last week, it's not related to class. Last week we saw another photo besides Gurudev. Today it's not there, I think. Whose photo was that? Besides Gurudev, behind you.
I don't know. I somehow I gotten a lot of pictures with Guru Maharaj.
Oh, okay. Maybe Guru Maharaj another pic. Okay.
If you showed me the picture, I could tell you. But
okay, I see that.
You could send it to me on WhatsApp or something, maybe.
Okay.
So just behind you.
Oh, just behind me now. Oh, that was Fakir Mohan Prabhu.
Acha, okay. Yeah.
Now I understand your point. I'm sorry. I thought you meant a photograph that I was taking with Guru Maharaj in it. Yeah. Yeah, that was Fakir Mohan Prabhu.
Acha, okay.
Fakir Mohan Prabhu was an old friend of Guru Maharaj. And after Guru Maharaj left, he was very, very kind to me. And he preached to me to serve Guru Maharaj. And he chastised me to serve Guru Maharaj. And he flattered me to serve Guru Maharaj. And he beat me to serve Guru Maharaj. He was my real friend.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
Okay. So is that okay, Tukaram? Should we finish here? I have your Ashirabad. Okay. So thank you all very much. It's really wonderful for me to get some chance like this. Otherwise, I'd just fall completely in Maya. We have a little association with the devotees like this. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki, Vancha Kalpa Darubhishcha, Kripa Sindhu Cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Nanda Kori Vaishnava Brinda ki Jai.
Jai.